It's the Rangers Journal night.
Welcome everyone to the Rangers Journal. It's been quite a big weekend for us as a podcast, but before I go into that, I'll introduce my panel this evening. I'll come to you first, Andrew, because you're below me. How are you this evening, mate?
I'm not too bad. Always an honour to be below you, Billy.
And Ryan, mate, before you, I'd seen you were still on mute. I was going to say you're still on mute, but you've beat me to it. Welcome aboard, mate. How are you?
It's nice to be in a good mood on a Monday for a change, to be honest with you. So, doing fine.
And the man of the hour, Scotty, thanks for joining us this evening as well, mate.
No problem, mate. We're actually live on Instagram tonight, you know, Billy.
Oh,
we went live on Instagram.
What about that TikTok? Can we get on that?
I don't know. I'll fix for another day.
Get David to look into that. But look, before we talk about what we're going to talk about, Ryan, just before we went live, you said there was a bit of breaking news with regards to shares. So I know you said you're not the expert, but please, can you give us a lowdown on what's just kind of broken in the last 10 minutes?
So the confirmation, I think, from Company's House, there's about just over 24 million new shares have been issued as well at 20 pence a share. So it's a strong indication that things are moving forward in the background. My interpretation of it, my amateur interpretation of it, I might also add, is that it's probably new shares being issued so that they can be sold, so that the deal, as we understand it, can now start to get structured up. I think we've spoken previously that the 49ers were going to take on 29.9% of the club, and Andrew Kavanagh was going to take on I think it was 21.1% he was going to take on, just so that we can play smart when it comes to the dual ownership of clubs rules if we ever were to meet Leeds United in Europe. So strong indication that things are moving in the right direction for us. So we just obviously got to see if there's any official word comes out from the club, but there's certainly things moving forward in the background.
Thank you very much, Ryan. Scotty, I'll come to you just to give you a bit of praise, because I thoroughly enjoyed your interview you did with Matt Maiocco. It was really informative. I've done a few clips this evening we're going to go through. But just for all those at home thinking that, the boss man took the big interview, you offered this interview to a couple of us, and unfortunately Matt was only available at a certain time, and you stood up and you asked all the kind of questions I was hoping to get answered from him. He's such a good source. So, mate, I just wanted to say again, loved the interview, and thank you very much for doing that. How did you feel it went overall?
Thanks very much, Billy. I thought it went absolutely brilliant. When you're doing an interview, you can get a feel for what way it's going to go in terms of, not whether it's good or bad, but everybody's different when you interview them and you ask them questions. And Matt was so open, and everything he said, it made me click in my head to what else I could ask him. You know what I mean? It was really, really easy to do. He's really, really good at his job, and I would like to thank him again for coming on. Thanks to everybody if you're new and subscribe to the channel, welcome. Hopefully we can get. I've got another thing working away in the background that I'm trying, but I'm not saying nothing.
That's the thing, Andrew. Scotty just keeps these things close to his chest, doesn't he? And all of a sudden he just pops in with, "Can anybody do this interview?" How did you feel it went?
Do you know what? 2 minutes in, because obviously I had a wee sneak preview of it, and 2 minutes in, it felt like he'd been talking, for about half an hour. The amount of detail and stuff that was in there, Scotty, that was fantastic. That was a very well conducted interview, a very good source, and somebody that knows Parag Marath very well. And we got a little bit of insight into him as a person, not just as a facts and figures man. People obviously go into takeovers to look for money, to look for how they can make their portfolios bigger and make more return from their investment. But we found a guy who is a football fan, so somebody that likes sports, that's screaming at his telly like the rest of us. Just wait till he finds out about VAR in Scotland. He's going to go absolutely nuts. He's going to put his boot through the telly, I think. No, it's brilliant.
Yeah, there was a bit in that Leeds game yesterday when I think it was Matt Ritchie took out one of the Leeds players in the pit, and it was a Stonewall penalty. But of course, they said no VAR in the Championship. So yeah, that will be something that you'll have to learn quickly, how VAR is used. And to be fair, we've been on the wrong end of a few decisions by the referee's own admission. So yeah, that's going to be something that will be interesting if he comments on those type of things. Ryan, just just a general feel for the interview. Did you take anything from it that you didn't know about?
No, nothing really, to be honest with you. Just that things are moving in the right direction by the sounds of things. He obviously didn't give too much away, and he didn't want to, breach any kind of confidentiality they might have had with the 49ers. So, but everything sounds positive. There wasn't anything kind of controversial. The worries that we have maybe were cooled a little bit as well. But for me, for us, as far as the journal's concerned, it's what a massive piece of credibility as far as we're concerned, as far as being a Rangers podcast is concerned. Really puts Scotty and all of ourselves right on the map as far as I'm concerned.
And Scotty, the one thing he cleared up that I was worried about is how to say Parag Marathi's name properly. Have I said it right, actually?
I think so, but then Matt was saying it just as Marath, and I was saying Marathi.
Marath, right, okay.
So I don't know if I butchered it or I'm not going to scoop it regularly. My biggest take for the interview would probably be the communication with the supporters. When I asked Matt about the likes of the stadium being renamed and whatever else, and he came away with, he's saying that the 49ers would come and present it to certain fan groups or whoever and get a feel for it. The talk to us, they would weigh up the pros and the cons, and it's just so reassuring. It's communication that's the biggest thing that I took for that interview, that I'm looking forward to seeing what they change and how they can update it and bring everybody closer together. That's all we want. The club wants to be close with supporters. We want a good team in the park. So if they can go and start winning football matches with us and just keep us in the loop, I think everybody will be happy, you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, I'm going to do something that I would hate if you did it to me, and that's to play clips of the little minute clips of the interview back. So I've picked 4 things that stood out to me, but guys, once we've done them all, feel free to bring up other points from the interview. And all I can say is, if you haven't seen the interview yet and you like these clips, you're in for a real treat watching the whole half an hour long one. So the first clip I picked out is a kind of 2-part one, and it was to do with why the 49ers would be interested in a club like Rangers. So I'll play the clip.
There's a couple of questions that the Rangers supporter want to know about the 49ers, and one of them would be, what, in your opinion, has driven the 49ers enterprises to pursue a controlling stake in Rangers?
Well, the 49ers have tried to kind of diversify, and I think they felt like they had pretty good success, moving out of American football. Well, they still are. They own the San Francisco 49ers. They found a situation with Leeds United that kind of fit what they were looking for to stay in sports, but just, move across the pond a little bit and see if there was a situation there that worked for them. And what they found with Leeds United was an organization that had success in the past and maybe had been mismanaged, and they felt like there was a lot of room to grow, a lot of room to take their ideas of sports using analytics and just the business side of it and turn it into an organization that could potentially recapture the glory days. And just for a little background, Scott, when this current 49ers regime, and the person that I'm going to speak probably a lot about is Parag Marathe, a very good businessman. He runs the salary cap, all the financials with the 49ers as far as player, compensation, the analytics of it. When he took over the 49ers, San Francisco 49ers had been an organization with a lot of success in the past, but was going through some very difficult times, mismanaged. And so he saw a very direct correlation between what he had gone through with the 49ers and applying it to the Leeds model. And I see this as almost an identical situation, going from the 49ers to Leeds to Rangers. So I think that's kind of the background of why the Rangers situation is something that the 49ers feel like they've been there, they've gone through it, they kind of know the formula.
Ryan, if I can come to you first on that, but what stood out to me is that even someone like him, or even Parag himself, know that the club had been mismanaged, and that's a real kind of kicker for me. That if you know, we like to look on the bright side with the club, but that we really have since the 55 season just been mismanaged, haven't we?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think it was just a lot of unnecessary spending, a lot of kind of business mistakes at board level. You could highlight the Handham debacle at the start of the season. You could look at, other instances, litigation instances where we're getting taken to court. It seems like every 5 minutes we seem to be breaching some sort of contracts. Fan outcry of the Sydney, the tournament out in Australia. I think it was Sydney it was going to be based. So many examples of where we've not done well. And I think they've just looked at it and went, we could do better. There is a kind of core, real good business there. There's facilities. They've got a great stadium, got a great fan base. They've got a great training facility. Years and years and years of history. Truth be told, we don't have a lot of competition. We've got one main competitor in our league. So, they've obviously been quite gutsy in taking on Leeds, because climbing to the top of the Premier League will be no easy feat. But for us, I think it's probably going to be a wee bit of an easier turnaround as far as I'm concerned. So it's great. I mean, it's any kind of businessman, when they look at it, is just look at a business that's for sale. Because being honest, Rangers is for sale. It's been for sale for a while. And just look at it and think, could I do better? And I truly believe they can.
Andrew, and what stood out in that comment as well was how analytical and data-driven they are. So they'll be looking for margins of income streams and margins with players that maybe this current board didn't have the skill or the knowledge to pursue.
It's a very technical kind of approach, and it's something that you see a lot in America, and it's very successful. Actual going into data and numbers specifically. Like you say, this board has taken us kind of as far as it can go, especially with the current owners. It's exciting that it's a massive enterprise like the 49ers, because I think obviously there's a lot of things that can translate from NFL and American football, big, massive clubs, that seems to be translated quite well, especially with Leeds. Like Ryan said there, it's no easy feat going to a club like Leeds. I think they have something like 200 million debt. Don't get me wrong, in Premier League terms, that's not a lot in the grand scheme of things, but there's a lot of competition in that championship. Sometimes if you don't get out there, it takes you a long time to get out there. We are a very, very attractive club. You looked at the figures in the week. Rangers were in the top 10 for highest grossing, I think, gate revenues across European football, which says a lot considering we have a 50,000 seat stadium. So there's a lot of revenue that does come in. Sadly, our own league just doesn't generate that much money via TV deals and stuff. So they'll be looking at other ways of maximizing the revenue on them fronts, because, there could even be a potential, a rejuvenation of something like Rangers TV, where they could link it up with something, let's say, for example, like an Apple, a company like that, where that you can take it further to a worldwide audience, because there is markets for it, especially in pockets of other countries, and there's ways of distributing rights and things. We have been mismanaged. They've identified we've been mismanaged. Like Ryan said, all the litigation and stuff we've had over the years, more money goes out than goes in some cases, and as long as you can sort that out, we've got one competitor. It wouldn't take a hell of a lot to challenge. And when you challenge, you've got the instant riches of the Champions League there and waiting.
And Scotty, the one thing I was thinking of during that was they've taken over Leeds, and they're not in the Premier League, and the Premier League does have some very big hitters with a lot of people with a lot of money, but they seem to be taking a more sensible approach. I say the data-driven thing. They're not just flinging, I'm sure they've spent money at Leeds, but they're not just flinging hundreds and hundreds of millions at it. So it seems to me it's a more of a well thought out, or a more thought out plan than just spending all, like, I've got loads of money, I'm from Saudi Arabia, for instance, and I'm going to just buy a club and just throw money into it. They seem to have a plan behind all this.
Oh, definitely. I was doing the tour of Ibrox yesterday, and just a quick hello to William, the tour guide. If he's watching, I tell me to come on and tune in. He says yesterday that there's apparently 15,000 on the waiting list for a season ticket. So there's a wee golden nugget right away as to why the the 49ers want to buy Rangers, they're going to expand the stadium and get more bums on seats at Ibrox, I would say. Might not be one of the first things to do, but it's part of why we are so such a good proposition for them to come in and buy. I mean, they're coming in at a time where the shares are quite low, I would imagine, to buy. If you're Parag Marathi, that is, then it all looks as if we're in a really good place for this takeover, especially from a 49ers point of view, because we've been mismanaged and people have made the wrong decisions at a certain time, and I'm not singling anybody out for whoever's done that. I mean, there's a list as long as you're around that you can blame for stuff that's happened over years at Rangers. In terms of Leeds, they brought in 145 million worth of transfer fees for Leeds in the summer. By selling the likes of Rutter, he went to Brighton for 40 million quid. That's just an example. And Leeds are still top of the Championship. They went out and spent 20 million on a winger called Ramazani, I think he's called. Signed him for Spain. He can't even get in the first team. So it shows you that they're willing to spend as well as maximise profit, if that makes any sense. I know they've stabilised Leeds big time financially, which has been a massive part of Leeds United, probably since Peter Ridsdale was in charge and they got a European Cup semi-final and all that kind of stuff. They were really, really badly managed as well. And then they had a guy called Massimo Cellino in charge, who was an Italian who just brought managers. They were worse than Watford. They were sacking anybody for coughing or sneezing the wrong way. So they've been into Leeds and they've really, really stabilised the club. And they're looking to get back at the Premier League at the first hurdle. And I hope, you know what, I hope they get her. It wouldn't affect the deal in any way, whether they do or they don't. But I think there's stuff that are the same about Leeds and Rangers, let's say that, Barry, in terms of the proposition being proposed to the 49ers to come in and put some money in, and you know they're going to tidy up Ellen Road and expand that. I would imagine they'll do the same with Ibrox, but they need a winning team in the park at the same time.
Well, Ibrox development is that's my third video actually I was going to show. But Ryan, this is a bit of a side issue and something that just popped in my head when Andrew was talking about the TV deals and stuff like that. This country still has the blackout on showing live games on terrestrial stations. That's not something that's there in America. You could pretty much watch any American football game live wherever you are at. You go into some of these bars like the Wild Wings places, and all the games are all on at the same time. I think that's something they would maybe look to pursue. I know it's going to be a legal matter, but pursue to open up the games for people to watch at home.
Aye, certainly. Maybe perhaps first of all on a pay-per-view basis. Maybe be an option to do that. Charge $9.99 for the privilege of watching it. I don't think Rangers hide the fact that they know that people do watch the game at 3 o'clock. You know, one of our kind of main sponsors is NordVPN for quite a while. And if you fancy a wee holiday on a Saturday afternoon, you can obviously watch the Rangers absolutely no problem at all. So I don't think the club would have many problems with that. I think that if the club had their way, you know, they would want everybody watching us on a Saturday afternoon. So I fully expect that to be one of the things they can challenge. You know, if you see it and you think it's wrong, you know, challenge it. Why not? You know, if there's there, if the suspicion is that the prices are going to go up for the match day tickets, then you know you've got to open up Rangers for all. And if it is still happens to be a 3 o'clock kickoff on a Saturday, which we don't get many of, truth be told, why not? I'd be all for that. I think that's just a natural progression, to be honest with you. And definitely, it wouldn't just be to our benefit; it'd be benefits to every club all over the country.
Andrew, just staying on that point, just briefly, look, we're at the whims of Sky TV, and they don't exactly give us the same as even I think the Belgian, the Dutch leagues get more in TV revenue. They need to be looking at that kind of thing as well, don't they? Like maximising what we can get for people watching the game.
100%. I think that's where a deal needs to be done with, you know, the SPFL, and I think even UEFA potentially can be involved in this to a certain degree. It's this whole blanket blackout. It's archaic. would Rangers fans not go to the stadium if it's on telly? Nonsense. 15,000, waiting to get a season ticket. So, no, it's a very archaic thing. It does need rid of, especially when, technically speaking, if you want to see a 3 o'clock kickoff, you can either, leave the country, so to speak, or there are people doing it other ways, and you can't, pay for it. So, we need to be maximizing that. It's a simple thing, and it's something that does needs it just needs to be done now, sooner rather than later. I'm still surprised that we're so lagging behind with that. Abroad, I think in America, I think it's Paramount that has the SPFL, and they show, I don't know, they don't show all the games, they basically show what's on Sky, but it's easy done. I can watch the Spanish football whenever I want, pretty much any game when I want, because I can. But yeah, no, we are in an on-demand time now. You should be able to watch what you want when you want.
Well, the second clip that I've picked is on a similar vein, so I'll play that and we'll maybe just continue the conversation.
Do you think it aligns with a broader investment strategy in sports?
Well, I do think that they feel like it's a gym. It's something that is a very good investment opportunity just because of the tradition and the history. So I don't know that any other football club out there lines up like this one does, in the sense that I'm sure you can talk on this, is just that how there is potential there and how that potential hasn't been realized, and the mismanagement part of it, and just kind of bringing some stability, making some wise financial decisions, improving the overall experience for the supporters of the football club. I think that all lines up with what the 49ers identified as the big reasons why this can be.
So Ryan, again, all encouraging there. Everything he's saying of why we were with Target, he called us a gem, which is nice to hear, because we, not a lot of people in this country say that about us. But from what he was saying there, encouraging stuff. I'm just going to, I'll pull up. I don't think I put it in any of the clips. I'm just going to mention it. He does say that we may be a wee bit premature with how far down the line we think with this deal is. Were you worried about that comment?
No, because later on in the interview, he didn't even know who Andrew Kavanagh was, to be honest with you. So nothing against, obviously, appreciate his time in the interview and stuff like that. But he's maybe not as in tune with the deal as maybe what we are, as far as the kind of some of the details that are out there. He's obviously well versed and well aware of the 49er strategy and stuff like that, which is great. But I think, and obviously the allotment of shares that's just been issued today, I think the deal's a lot further on than what we'd like. And I'm hoping it is. The fact that they said it was agreed in principle, all parties are looking to do business. They've obviously said they want to get it concluded by June as well. So not a cause for concern from me at all, to be honest with you.
No, fair enough, mate. Fair enough. Scotty, from that section, your screen went off, so I don't know if you got to see it, but describing the position that they view us, that's quite a good and a hopeful place to start from. That they see that there is, the mismanagement he mentions again, but there is this potential to be something a lot more than we are.
Oh, 100%, mate, 100%. I think that's what they're coming in today. They're coming in to maximise and take money back, essentially. But in order to maximise, they're going to need to put a decent team on the park and win leagues and win trophies and get into the Champions League every year. They're not going to make any money unless they do that, unless they get into that Champions League. Or maybe there's a Super League or something in the corner that we don't know about. But it's interesting times ahead to see what will happen when they come in. Just to touch upon the part that he says things might be a wee bit premature, it doesn't really worry me, because I think we're at the stage now that we're at the part that takes the longest now, which is the due diligence. How quickly the due diligence has been done, I don't know. Have they been in the club already? We know there's a group connected to them that's doing the football review. So is that maybe part of the due diligence? Do you know what I mean? I don't know much about these things or takeovers, but I think when he's saying that it was a bit premature, I think that's what he was angling at. For me, would be that we're at the due diligence stage now, and that can take X amount of time. Hopefully it is wrapped up for summer. I just want it done now. I'm absolutely buzzing after that interview because it just reassured me as a supporter and actually got me excited. We've all been here before, and I'm not going to mention his name and what happened in 2012, but we were always saying at that point when he came in, all pretty excited about it. But this does actually seem to be the real deal because we've seen what they've done with Leeds United and stuff. I think it's safe to say that it's a goer and there's good times ahead.
Andrew, I think this is a world away from 2012 from some businessman none of us had ever heard of. Compare that against the corporation that is the 49ers. There's no real comparison, is there?
Not at all. You saw the situation obviously with Murray at the time, and I think he was just looking for anyone to take it on. And then obviously had the Charles Green talking from his hospital bed. We had a random billionaire that I'd never heard of. Obviously said there'd be a war chest. We heard it all. We all believed it. We all wanted to believe, like Fox Mulder once said. But this is a massive corporation. This isn't just some billionaire that owns the 49ers either. This is a massive investment arm, and they are looking to have a massive portfolio of top clubs. So yeah, no, this is definitely much more positive. We're not going to have absolute millions to spend, but we are going to be in a financial stable footing, and we'll be able to progress. We'll be able to, in theory, make our academy better. We'll be able to play our player trading model will be better because we'll be able to just spend that little bit more to get certain players in a bit earlier. And hopefully as well harvest some Scottish talent, because the amount of Scottish talent that just goes out through the door because we won't pay 3 million because of course there's that Rangers tax involved, which I think we might be able to do a bit more now. So yeah, no, this is definitely positive. The rumours were that I think it was October all this got set in motion, which was pretty impressive to keep quiet for that long. But you could see from the summer, obviously with the downsizing and other things going on, that you could see they were trying to show that the club could make money essentially and start to downsize and get things ready for a takeover in a sense. And I think that's becoming clear now, obviously in hindsight, a lot of the things that were happening in the summer into towards October as well.
Ryan, I'd seen a comment on one of the popular Rangers forums about why there's only a very short window for it to be announced if it's going to be announced soon, which I don't think we expect. But because of the NFL season and the draft and all that kind of stuff, you're expecting that's going to take precedence for the 49ers at the moment. How do you think the fans can deal with this going forward for another couple of months with, just knowing it's probably going to go ahead, but no real definites?
Probably just need to hang fire and just, like Marv said, keep believing, to be honest with you. We'll hopefully have a Europa League run to distract us during that kind of time. It's one we'll probably be drip fed kind of certain amounts of information as and when I'm sure there'll be scouts sitting at the arrivals desk at Glasgow and Edinburgh Airport 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, waiting to see if anyone notable gets off a plane from America. So it's just a case that we just need to hang fire and let the businessmen do business, to be honest with you. Just going on to the kind of due diligence, what we're talking about there, what's actually involved with that, it's basically a period of authentication as far as the 49ers are concerned. So they'll have been presented, years of books of the trading that Rangers have done, and they need to basically go in now and validate that income. They'll have forensic accountants examining these books that they will have employed to make sure that they're not being lied to, that these accounts that have been created by our club haven't been fabricated. Obviously, we've got full trust in the auditors that work for Rangers and the Rangers board that they would never do such a thing to anybody now. So, but they've got to actually go down and do that for themselves. They'll be getting things like the stadium will be getting valued as well. The training facilities, all the land that Rangers own, etc., will all be getting valued as part of the deal as well. So they'll be diving deep into who we are to make sure they are actually getting value for money for what they've agreed to pay for the club. So it'll take a few weeks for that to get done. Hopefully it'll all come together by the time the football audit will be done as well, and it basically should all be finished, I would imagine, at the end of April, dotted line, all signed. And hopefully that club will change hands in June at that point.
No, I hope so as well. Just because you mentioned the stadium, my next clip was about the development that Scotty asked about around the Ibrox and surrounding area, so I'll play that now.
The surrounding area would get a wee bit of work done to it as well.
I would think so. Yeah, I would think that that's a huge part of the fan experience, and that's something that they would definitely look into. And what I know from the Leeds model is that they didn't want to do anything that would alienate the fan base. You know, they don't want to take the character and the charm away from that home stadium where, you know, what generations of football fans that have been going to, and that's part of the fabric of that community. So I think they would really want to embrace the history while also modernizing, you know, being more attractive to the younger fans, making the game day experience maybe more inclusive. And so, yeah, I do think that, and I think that's kind of a strength of theirs, is that, you know, they can kind of figure out a good way to modern.
Give me a show of hands, guys. Have any of you been to an NFL stadium? No, not seen any. All knows. I've been to the Patriots. Sorry, yeah, but I've been to the Patriots stadium, not for a game, just a tour. It's Foxborough, I think it's called. No, it's in the middle of nowhere, but it's got a huge complex next to it with cinema, restaurants, shops. In fact, it was like no different from any kind of mall that you'd normally see in America. Big entertainment. Also had a huge museum. They showed you all the trophies or whatever. And I know we've just built the museum recently, but that's something that was encouraging to me. Scotty, I'll come to you on this because obviously you asked the question, but the whole fan experience of the surrounding area is going to be hopefully revamped as well.
Aye, well, that's another revenue stream, innit? It's, they'll come in and they'll do things like hopefully get a pub finished, or a sports bar that we've all been waiting on. Small things like that around even laying new tarmac doing. I heard somebody saying that a couple of months ago. It just makes Ibrox look a wee bit different for the outside. Just gives it a kind of wee like a paint. I am all for it. I'm all for it. Anything that's going to benefit a club, they'll do it. And if, like I say, if we're winning football matches, then that's all it really matters, isn't it? The rest of it will kind of fall into place. Just as far as I'm concerned, let them work their magic when they get in the door, Billy.
Yeah, Ryan, you're obviously season ticket holder at this ground all the time. What would you say is the biggest issues that Ibrox has at the moment from the fans' point of view?
The catering is shocking, to be honest with you. The catering within the ground it's brutal, to be honest with you. Obviously, I like my grub, so the actual kind of value for money, if you like, you're going and buying a pie, you're paying £4 for a pie, and it's either absolutely red hot 3rd-degree burns or it's freezing cold, and you're worried about the next day. So it's that's the kind of thing that they'll look to do. I think first of all is kind of get the facilities within the stadium. Look after the inside of the house before you look after the outside of the house, maybe. But there'll be things like, I've said for a long time that Ibrox Primary School could be converted into a fantastic hotel facility for the club. Obviously, right across the road. Obviously, don't know, Glasgow City Council are selling it, but money talks at the end of the day. So there's loads and loads of things that they can be doing. The actual concourse area of the club deck that I sit in, there's so much empty space within. There's so many better things to be doing. The televisions haven't worked, for example, in the club deck for about 3 years now, from what I can remember. And there'll be something to do, I'm sure, with some sort of licensing issue or something like that. The reason the televisions are off. But wee things like that if you do have to, if you're parched for a drink and you're going down and you're standing waiting for a coffee whilst the game's on, you don't know what's happening. So wee small things like that would be making the difference for me, to be honest.
And Andrew, on the point of stadium expansion, we are missing out, at least on our main rivals, or at least 10,000 people a game, where the stadium have a large capacity. Would you think that's something that is vitally important to get the revenue streams up, to have the stadium expanded? And what do you envisage that to look like?
It's always difficult when you look at things like stadium expansion now. Obviously, the clip you played there, you did state that, traditions are highly important in keeping with that. So I don't think a move away from Ibrox would be on the cards unless it was something that was looked at as being better, so they could do bigger and better. But obviously, I think they hold traditions in high regard, which I absolutely love. And of course, that's one of the comments I did here, which did give me a good feeling inside, because obviously we understand our club, we understand things that should be done, things that shouldn't be done. Stadium expansion, I'd love to see it. I don't think it will be anytime soon. Obviously, I think we'd have to move away from Ibrox for a bit, especially if you're going to get massive work done. You look at what was added to the Broomlin, and obviously that overran and had some issues, but I think we would have to ground share somewhere else possibly, but again, that can be planned in long term and will be better when you can plan that for a season maybe, because it's not something that will happen very quickly. But I think it's not exactly a quick fix, but it's something that and can give you return over time. We do need to get on that level kind of footing. The season ticket waiting list is there, and sadly people don't really, that list doesn't ever really go down. And that's without football tourism. We don't really have that here in the SPFL. You get the odd little bit at the Old Firm, but we don't really have that either. So just imagine if football tourism kicks in, with a lot of San Francisco 49ers fans. There's a chat in the comments there about maybe doing the NFL at Ibrox. That'd be interesting, wouldn't it?
I guess so. Ryan, I'm going to skip Scott just for a second, because I feel that Scott already gave his answer to this, because he did bring up stadium renaming rights. And I guess, Scott, your opinion was, then correct me if you're wrong, that you thought most of the fans would be on board with it to a degree, because we'd always still call it Ibrox. But Ryan, how do you feel about the stadium as a name, like Ibrox being renamed to something else, even if it's the 49ers Ibrox or whatever comes to mind?
Yeah, I mean, it's a real difficult one. You're never going to get everyone on board with it. There'll be some fans that say, sell it, get the money in. We need the money for new players. We need the money for investment within the club and all the other things. Personally, for me, there's only one thing that would be acceptable for me, and it's if we went to Elon Musk and called it Ibrox with a big X at the end of it instead of a big I. For me, that's the only thing that, personally, for me, that I would be willing to take on. But regardless of what they call it, it'll always be Ibrox to me.
Yep. Scotty, there was a few comments related to the video when people disagreed, because I think I share the same opinion. I'd always call it Ibrox. If it's got something before or after it, it doesn't really bother me too much. If we're getting, say, another 10 million, I don't know what the figures are, another player on the park that wins his leagues, that's the only thing that's important to me. Have you changed your mind by some of the comments that come in, that you maybe would think twice about it now?
No, not really. I think to me, it's always going to be Ibrox. What I think the 49ers would do it though, and I think Matt kind of alluded to it in the clip, is that the 49ers would go and speak to whoever it is they would speak to, whether it be fan media, whether it be supporters groups, I don't know. They'll come and present this as an option. How do you think this will be done with the support kind of thing? They'll talk to us. It's the most important thing. They thought about it with Leeds, and the Leeds fans says no, and it's still called Ellen Road. So, to me, it's a possibility worth looking at. Whether it's called Ibrox or whether it's called the Red Bull Rangers Arena or anything, it's always going to be Ibrox to me, Billy.
Yeah, no, I'm the same. And Andrew, you're nodding along. What do you think of the whole naming issue?
A good example of that was, of course, Newcastle when it was the Sports Direct Arena. I don't think anybody called St James's the Sports Direct Arena apart from Mike Ashley, to be honest. I was always against it. I remember the idea was floated by Murray a few years ago, and it just didn't seem right, but it will always be Ibrox to everybody. You'll just hear it a bit differently on the telly. There's money in that. Again, it depends how you do it. I think we've handled some of the naming things before quite poorly. Obviously, you're never going to turn away money, but we always tend to go with a company that ends up going defunct. Like there was that, what was it, Body BioWave that we named one of the stands, and then it got covered up halfway through a season. Again, I guess it's not the club's fault. You can't help a company going bust, but yeah, it didn't have a good look to it when it ended up getting covered up. But no, it'll always be Ibrox to everybody, even if you do want to call it the John Lewis Arena or something like that.
Scotty, just because I know you do have a preference of favour towards Leeds. So they've got Red Bull on the top. Just because I've seen a comment called the Red Bull iBooks or whatever. They've got Red Bull on the top, but it's not. I take it's not the same thing as like RB Leipzig, that they're not owned, but it's just a sponsorship deal.
Sponsorship only. But the rumours going among the Leeds fans is that they might actually be buying Leeds off the 49ers.
Fair enough.
I think the name thing was looked upon with them as well, Red Bull Leeds or whatever, but it was kiboshed and they're still called Leeds United. So yet again, it's another example of the 49ers speaking to fans and listening. But that is purely a sponsorship deal, I think, Billy.
Fair enough, mate. And it's interesting because British football's got its traditions. Like the captain is very important to the British team. The stadium, right, or the stadium's name is very important to British teams. So respecting that and not just turning us into one of the, like, in Europe they feel differently about it. That's fine, but I don't see us ever wanting to be called Red Bull Rangers or anything like that. Look, the final clip I've got is just the end comments from Matt. So I'll play that and then we can maybe talk about anything that I've missed.
Well, Matt, thank you for coming on. That was very informative, and I'm sure you've reassured anybody within the Rangers support with any apprehensions about the potential takeover. So thank you for coming on.
All right, Scott. Yeah, I would say that, if things aren't going well, that the 49ers goal would be to make things better in connecting to the community, and maybe not a quick fix, this year, next year, or whenever, but their goal would be to just maintain a level of consistency and return the Rangers over.
For some reason, Andrew, it's clicking the last few seconds of my videos off. I maybe mucked up with that one there, but interesting to see. I guess we've seen that with Leeds. It's not been a quick fix for them, and it won't be a quick fix for us. We've got a lot of issues on and off the park that need sorted, but it's good that they at least want to sort them, isn't it?
Well, it is. Well, especially there where what Scotty was saying, that Red Bull were potentially looking into purchasing Leeds. That shows what a job that they've done in that kind of short space of time. Leeds have always had the odd issues every now and then, but they are such a stable club now. You would put money on them winning that title and going up to the Premiership. It's just so positive. I try not to get carried away, like we all do. This is still early stages. We're not fully there yet. Obviously, the alleged completion date is June, but just hearing Matt, honestly, I remember 4 minutes in, I was transcribing some bits, and I thought, "Oh my goodness, this is amazing," and it really was. And it's such an eye opener of this whole situation, and it's good to know that there's good hands there, and because I think there are good hands. I don't think they'd make any rash decisions, data driven. And it would just be nice, we're out of litigations, it'd be nice to keep it that way, and just have a little bit more money potentially to spend. So no, this is all positive, and it's just good. I can't see any downsides at the minute.
Ryan, am I maybe being a bit naive to think that these guys haven't come up against the kind of bureaucratic opposition that they might face in Scotland, whether it's referees, whether it's SFA, SPFL? Are these guys going to be up for the fight? And I'm not talking about a Dave King type fight, but just to get things changed.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how aware they're going to be of the conspiracy theories that several of us have, in certain referees and certain people that run the SFA as well that have such a strong hand over it. But at the end of the day, 11 guys against 11 guys will fix all these problems. And although sometimes we do feel as if we're playing against 12, 13, 14 guys on a Saturday or Sunday, ultimately, if they bring the success and they bring the players in, these guys will beat the 12, 13, 14 guys every single week. And the tide will swing. It will kind of turn towards us at some point. We will get bigger and better. As far as going across the city, the mask will slip. Eventually it always does slip. So, we'll be still there with our smile on our face and, proud and true as we always have been. But that's where guys like kind of Patrick Stewart staying on as well. You know, if they do come in June, I'd like to see Stewart stay on for at least one more season to do a warm handover with them. He's obviously, Scottish born. He's well versed in football. He's had, tremendous CV with Manchester United and stuff like that. He's going to oversee the takeover as well. So I'd like to see a warm handover from him and, bring these guys in and give them an education of what it's actually all about when you actually get under the bonnet of Rangers Football Club.
Scotty, we're not obviously don't know this, but do you have the feeling that Patrick Stewart was someone that was appointed with the permission or the blessing of the 49ers Corporation?
I don't know, Billy. It's hard to tell. You don't know when the talks really started or when the interest really came in. But as soon as it's signed and sealed, Patrick Stewart's got a lot of credit in the bank with Rangers fans. I will say that. He's took his fair amount of criticism for the way he handled the whole Clement situation, but I think when the news broke about the 49ers being in talks, etc., and agreeing a deal in principle, I think it kind of all made sense to me anyway. I could see why Clement was still in a job, and I knew then why he hadn't been sacked yet. Obviously he's gone now, but it's interesting. It's interesting. I would probably like to see Patrick Stewart stay, just because, like Ryan says, he knows the club. He will be well versed by the time the summer comes. But the man's certainly earning his money, isn't he?
Andrew, if you're the 49ers coming in, I guess you do have the knowledge of being a fan, so you know maybe what the main problems is. What's the first thing that they deal with when they come and take over? Hopefully, if they take over.
Oh, that is a good one. I think, well, if it is June, like it says, I think that the biggest issue is on the pitch stuff, I think. So obviously getting a manager in place. Obviously we're seeing the rumours of candidates. Allegedly Rafa Benitez is aware of Rangers' interest, whether that's true or not. Who knows? Obviously, allegedly some people are interested in Gerrard. Again, this could just all be rumours. But yeah, definitely sort out the manager, get that in place for day one, get summer started well, get a full pre-season on the go, and look at getting, obviously the targets will be identified now for potential players maybe coming in, depending on if they're going to keep with the kind of Nils Koppen route, which I think they probably will to start, I think, and hopefully they can see the kind of reap the rewards from that. Yeah, I think it's a stage of having a clear out throughout the boardroom as well in some respects. Again, that will take time. That's not something that will happen overnight. Simple things like Ryan says, get that match day experience better for people. Catering, obviously there's contracts locked in. Don't know when they're locked in to. This company, I think they started last year. I can't remember who it was. But hopefully if they can tear that up and just say it's not fit for purpose, get that sorted as well, get the matchday experience sorted, get some players sold as well, and get some transfers in. I think it's more on the pitch stuff and matchday experience stuff for now. Longer term stuff, getting Ibrox done up, getting the car park retarmacked, looking at the land across the way. I know that some land has been sold to developers. They could look at an MK Dons model where Winkleman at the time at MK Dons, who was the owner, he just basically got all this spare ground and just basically built outlets, like you say, kind of in America, like they do with the NFL kind of stadiums. They've built eateries there, cinema, all that on their land. So, if you can acquire some land that's around us and maybe do something similar, make like a sports village kind of thing for match days, then you know what, it's money that comes in the door. I know we're looking at that sports bar, but if you think a little bit bigger land, bigger things, you know what, it's money can come in.
Scott, I'm just going to come to you, just again, being the Leeds connection, you might know more about it than me. Was the Leeds takeover a slower affair? Am I right in saying that they bought up in sections?
Aye. They bought, I think it was, they're up to, I'm not sure if they bought 31% and then upped, or if they're sitting it. I know they've got a controlling stake, but what the percentage is, I don't know. But it was built up and kind of blocks. They started when Leeds won the Premier League, and then when the relegation, that's when they done the full kind of takeover. I think it was 160 million they bought Leeds for. So if you're thinking about it and they're going to sell to Red Bull when Leeds are back in the Premier League, they could essentially double that or triple it easily. It really is scary money, to be honest with you, Billy.
No, it's mainly just because they're going to be able to do this changes that Andrew suggests without the delay that maybe Leeds would have had with not being the full owners or having the shares. Ryan, I'm going to come to you on something that's close to my heart as well, and it's when you see on Twitter people posting the food options that you can buy at different stadiums, and then so you get like salt and pepper chicken at some place, and then I've seen today there's like garlic squid. Getting not that I fancy that, but you mentioned earlier that the state of the catering.
Yeah.
I would actually hopefully they could buy whatever these contracts are, is to pay them out and just get somebody in that's going to serve the fans something decent and at a decent price.
Why did I get asked the food questions, by the way? That's what I want to know. Every time there's a mention of food, I'm always the one that's got to answer it. Right, okay. No, but listen, it's there'll be. I mean, at the end of the day, like I said a few minutes ago, money talks with these sorts of things. I think what Andrew was touching on with the sports bar there when I was at the AGM last year, they were actually saying that the company that does the catering within the stadium's actually been put in charge of delivering the basically the project of the sports bar as well. But you can see that these companies need to be shifted on. I'd like to see things like you've seen Black Rooster was there as well. They've obviously in the stadium. I think they're in the Sandy Jardine rear. They've got the van outside the stadium and stuff like that as well. So kind of well known kind of brand names within the stadium wouldn't do any harm. But it shouldn't come at the sacrifice of selling their own stuff as well. I was always a fan of the old Blue Nose Burger and all this kind of stuff that they used to do back in the day. You never bought a bar of Cadbury's chocolate, you bought a bar of Rangers chocolate, all these things. So if there's a possibility that we could raise the quality of the catering within the stadium, but do it under our own branding, I'd be all for that. But there's a massive market there. I don't know if you want to touch on the subject of what I was saying last Sunday about having a beer in the stadium, which is massively controversial. But I think that's something that could possibly get closer as time goes on as well. If you go to any kind of sports stadium, any sports games, there's beer readily available in there. You don't need to be selling spirits. You can just sell a decent lager or a decent cider to people. So that's another possible income stream that could be done. It's just getting bums on seats and getting people in and around the stadium earlier. If you go on the subway after 2 o'clock for a 3 o'clock kickoff, it is literally like a can of beans trying to get to the stadium. So we want people in and around the stadium earlier, spending their money into the club. Just hopefully it all comes to fruition.
Before we go around for our final thoughts, I just want to mention our sponsor, Off to the Match I Go. If you scan the QR code there, that'll take you to the website, but you could easily just Google that too. And when you go there is lots of sports memorabilia, signed memorabilia, and you also get a 10% discount if you use the code Journal10. So please go and give them a visit and see what they've got on offer. I think you'll probably end up finding you like something over there. So, yep, Scotty, I'll come to you first. Just want to say again, mate, really loved the interview. Like Andrew, I did a sneak peek when you said it'd been done. So I got to watch it ahead and I was pretty excited for it to be getting released over the weekend. And I've got to say the comments have been 99.99% positive on it. So I want to say well done again for that interview, mate, and well done in sourcing it. And just what's your final takes on how, what Matt said and going forward?
First of all, thank you. Thanks to Declan. He was actually the one within the team that sourced it. Managed to find Matt and messaged him and then handed it over to me. So a massive thank you to Declan for that. The overall kind of comments it reassured me most of all. The biggest thing I took for it was the communication that they're going to come out and speak to the fans. Not necessarily before they do anything, but any major things like name changes or anything like that. If they're going to try something new, then I think we'll hear fate and we'll hear the pros and cons and what it can bring into the club. That's all we've really been asking for, is that level of communication for the club for X amount of years. The biggest thing for me when they come in is if we've got a transfer target list just now, Billy. without this takeover happening, then you're looking at free transfers and all that kind of stuff. You know, in the summer you could be looking at quality like Lennon Miller coming in. Is buying Journey an actual option for us now? These are all things we could do separate podcasts on, so if anybody's wanting it, then stick it in the comments. But our transfer target list can go up in quality, and our choice of manager as well can also get up in quality, because we might be able to pay better wages. All these things are positive going forward. So I'm all for it, and if Matt's watching, thanks again for coming on. And if you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button and notification bell. We're actually coming back on tomorrow night. I've just a text off of Dave. They're coming on to do a tactical breakdown. So if you put the Fenerbahce game, so if you put your notification bell on, you can find out what time they're going live. He's not messaged me a time yet, but that's something else we're trying out. Rangers Journals, we're trying to get a tactics board up and running where we can look at what's happening in matches and where goals have been conceded, or what we've done well, or where we can get better, sort of thing. There's live articles on my YouTube page, on my Facebook page. Head on over and check them out. And just thanks for having me, Billy.
Yeah, I hope you don't mind me saying, mate, just that you mentioned if that's a pod you'd like to see, to drop a comment. If that's a pod you'd like to do, drop us a comment and come and join the team. Am I right, Scott?
100%.
Anybody out there fancies doing this, yeah, please get in touch with us on Twitter or wherever you see us, and we'll give you a go. Anyway, thank you very much, Scotty, for coming on. Ryan, thanks again for coming on, mate. Any final thoughts for yourself?
No, thanks for having me. I'll keep this brief, conscious of your time. Well done to Declan. Congratulations to Scotty for delivering something there. And thanks for everyone who's also liked and subscribed to the channel, following it as well. We've had a massive upsurge in subscriptions in the back of it as well, so they're well appreciated. Watch this space, because I think there'll be more round the corner as far as Scotty's, and hopefully we'll be making Rangers great again.
We're even in the paper, mate, today. That's fantastic. And Andrew, yeah, thanks for coming on, mate. Thanks for your comments this evening. Any last kind of thoughts on the 49ers proposed takeover?
Always a pleasure to come on, Billy. And no, do you know what? The future's bright. The future's orange, as one advert used to say. It just popped in my head. But no, absolutely brilliant. There's lots to come from the Rangers Journal. Scotty's always working away at stuff in the background. He does a lot of work along with you guys as well. So yeah, get subscribing, get following. Definitely more to come from the guys. No, but thanks for having us, Billy.
No, thanks, Andrew. Thanks, all you guys. Just a quick word to say that if you like to listen to podcasts, the interview with Matt is up on the usual podcast apps. Also, this one will go out as well as the same as the rest of our podcast. We'll go out on YouTube, Twitter, can't remember what else, Scotty, but also on the podcast app is what I wanted to say. So yeah, like and subscribe. Come and listen to us if you like listening to podcasts. And thank you very much for watching. And every night is a Rangers Journal night. Good night.